Hi, good morning, everybody. Or I guess good afternoon or good evening, wherever you happen to be at. My name is Amanda Smith, and I'm one of the composers here in Composers Community. Today is our Teaching Tip Thursday, which, if you are not aware, every Thursday one of us will go live here in our group and just give you some tips and some suggestions of some things that you can do to help teach your pieces, to teach our pieces to your students. Today I'm going to be giving you some tips for my piece At the Edge, which is an intermediate lyrical solo. But before I get started with that, I just want to tell you a little bit about myself so that you can get to know me and just learn about the composers. I am a traveling teacher in Utah, about 30 miles south of Salt Lake City, and I have about 25 students at any given time. Right now it's a little bit less than that, but around here that's actually considered really full. There aren't very many teachers that have more students than that. And it shocks people a little bit when they ask how many students I say and how many students I have. And I tell them I don't have very many, but then when I say 25, it kind of floors them a little bit. I have a bachelor's degree in piano performance, but I didn't actually start composing very much until after I had already graduated. So that was something that kind of came on when I began teaching, and I needed some things to come up with for my students when I couldn't exactly find a piece or an exercise that would work for them. So I started doing it on my own. And then I also started a blog for music teachers and began writing music for that to put up. And because of that blog, that's how I found some of these piano teacher groups on Facebook. And I was introduced to Piano Pronto about 1.5 years ago, and I joined the Composers Community in May of this year. So right now I have 2 pieces up on the site, so not very many, but I do have 4 in the queue to be edited right now. And one of them is another duet similar to Glass Houses, which has been really popular. It's another duet for 2 beginners, evenly leveled, but it's got a little bit more of a Celtic flair to it, and it's called All That Glitters, so be looking for that sometime in the near future. Let me just see if there's any questions. No? Okay, great. All right, so for my teaching tip today, I decided to do something a little bit different than the last few weeks. I did not do a YouTube video, but so part of the PDF that I have, I actually created a worksheet. It's backwards, but there you go. And the worksheet just kind of gives you something when you introduce the song to your students that you can do some basic analyzing. That's something I always like to do first off, because I like to give my students songs that they look difficult. They're not. They have a lot of patterns, and I'm always just kind of grilling into them that you need to look for the patterns. It's not as long as it looks, it's not as difficult as it looks, because a lot of the same things repeat. And so we go through and we look at the form and we look at the chord structure and we find the places where things happen over and over again. And usually they leave their lesson going, oh, this is easy, I can learn this by next week. So the worksheet has some chord analyzation, and it also has just some terminology questions, because in the piece At the Edge there are a few Italian words that they may not have seen before, like cantabile, which we all know is kind of singing, but it's good for them to kind of look it up on their own and figure out the definition for that. So, okay, also, besides the worksheet, there is on the first page a couple of suggestions that I have for this song. There are 3 of them, and the last one is the one I'm most excited about. So first, for your warm-up, the right hand pattern that repeats a lot in At the Edge is really similar to Hanon number 1. So you can use Hanon just as it is, or you can kind of alter it a little bit so that there's a third between also your fourth and your fifth fingers, just like the pattern in the song, and kind of play the Hanon with a little bit of the at the edge style. Oh. Hi, Chrissy. So that's the first thing. The second thing is this song has a lot of rubato in it. So one thing I do with my students to teach rubato is I have them conduct. I have them listen to the song and kind of conduct along with it. And they can either use the pattern or they can just kind of, go up and down and just sort of tap the table when they see each beat. And this way they're looking at the song and they're listening to the song, and then they have kind of the touch feel of trying to feel where the recording is putting each of the beats, and they can see how it's speeding up and slowing down. And it gives them kind of an idea for what they can do as they're trying to put their own rubato into it. The last thing, which I am really excited about, because I just came up with this idea this past week actually. The piece is one that really gives a lot of room for interpretation and putting emotion into it and just really musicality. But that can be, pardon me, that can be a really difficult thing to explain to students. When you tell them to play with emotion, they don't understand what that means. So one thing that one of my teachers when I was growing up did was he had several huge binders just full of cutouts from magazines, beautiful pictures of scenery, homes, animals, just anything he could find that he thought maybe could be useful when he was trying to teach us to play with emotion or with something in mind. And when I would be playing a piece and his words were that I was making it a corpse, that I was killing it and there was nothing there, he would pull out one of these binders and find a picture, maybe of like a cliffside in Ireland with the water waves crashing in, and he would start asking questions. What's happening in this picture? How does it make you feel? What do you think it sounds like? How loud do you think it is? Do you feel like there are dynamics to it? And then he'd ask all of these kind of qualifying questions, and then he'd say, okay, how can you make the piece that you're playing do the same type of thing? What can you do here that would sound like waves crashing into the beach? And what can you do here that would change the feel of it? Could you speed up? Could you slow down? And then he would tell me to play the song again, but play the picture that he had shown me. And for some students, this doesn't work because there are some learning styles of kids that are really technical, that need to know exactly, okay, get louder here, and then do this here, and this is exactly the length that you need to hold this note. I did have a friend like that in college that was also a piano major. But for a lot of students, if you can give them an example, give them a picture that makes them feel the same way that you want the song to feel, then a lot of the time they can translate that over because it gives them something to compare to and something that they understand. So because I'm a traveling teacher, I can't have all those huge binders full of pictures. So what I've done the past several years is, just as I carry my smartphone with me, I'll Google something. If they need it, I'll Google beautiful scenery. But that isn't always the best option, to just Google it, because sometimes the best thing doesn't come up right away. You don't have like the best example to show them. And sometimes I worry too about Googling things in front of my students, because you never know exactly what might come up that they don't need to be seeing. Unfortunately, that is something that we have to worry about as piano teachers when we're using the internet and searching for things as examples for our students, even when we're looking up YouTube videos. So one thing that I've started doing, because I was trying to figure out how I could vet the pictures and keep them organized and everything, And as I was really focusing on it when I was thinking about this teaching tip for today, one thing that kind of hit me at the side of the head, and I couldn't believe I'd never thought about it before, was, well, why can't you just use Pinterest? So I went in and I created a Pinterest board from my page just for my song At the Edge, and I started going through and looking for images that really spoke to me, that I thought were beautiful, that kind of described what could be happening in the music. And I've created that board, so if you want to use it for your students, you don't have to create your own. You can just go and look at mine. But another thing that you can do, as I was thinking about it, you don't necessarily have to have a board for every one of the songs that you think your students, would come across a musicality issue. You can also separate it into categories. So you could have a board that has pictures that would go along with the lyrical solos, and you can have another one for fast and flashy, another one for the showcase solos, one for pop music, and just fill those boards with things that you think would be helpful to your students. I noticed as I was looking through the pictures and trying to pick things for At the Edge, I tended to gravitate towards a lot of pictures of water. So lakes and rivers and ocean waves, things like that. But I feel like that's a really good description for kind of what's going on in the song. And a lot of lyrical solos are the same way. So if you don't want to have a Pinterest page, or like the Pinterest app, let's say, up on your studio iPad with your personal Pinterest page that all of your students can then see all your recipes and things that they don't necessarily have any need to see, you can really easily create a Pinterest page, just a separate one, a separate account with a different email. And if you want, you can even set it up as a business for your studio. And you might be surprised, it could actually be a great way for you to get some more students too, if someone's going around on Pinterest and they see, oh, you're a piano teacher. So that is my tip that I'm most excited about for the day, and it's something that I'm actually going to start doing a lot more in my studio with the Pinterest boards and the images. So does anybody have any questions? Let's see. Lisa says, love the Celtic flair. Yes, I'm on a Celtic kick lately. Love the idea of using pictures. Yeah, I love it too. Okay, all right, so I am going to go ahead and sign off, and I'll be putting that PDF with the worksheet and the teaching tips up just as soon as I get off. So I hope that this has been helpful for you, and have a great day. Bye.